Okay, so hello. I've just been sort of fiddling around with a few things, but I have this Dick Smith's television and it has a component input option. The only problem is it runs off one of these 3.5mm audio jacks. So let's say I want to take this Wii console video cable and I want to connect it up to my, well, Dick Smith television. That's going to be a little bit difficult out of the box because, well, you can't just take this and jam it in. So what I found is that you've got your standard, standard audio, and then you've got your 3 video signals. This goes into the component, your regular component lead, audio in, that's fine. I can't even pronounce it correctly right now. And plugging these 3 in through this, not so much. So what I did was I went around and I came across this on eBay, and it's for a Samsung television. So I'm thinking, okay, 3.5mm, jam it in, it should work. No, it didn't. Now, trying to figure out why, I didn't really know why. But what I've got here is a schematic, or more of a quick little diagram that I've done, showing what colour does what. So I'm going to test this one out right now on camera, and we can find out how close I was, or at least how close Samsung are with the rebranded Dick Smith televisions that they used to sell. So I'll just pop this into connectivity mode. Okay, so common is the bottom pin. So if I make sure that that's just connected to the bottom pin, and then okay, so that's right. Now, according to this diagram, red should be here. Well, okay. So that's correct. This should be blue. That's correct. And this bottom one should be green. This green doesn't come in contact with any others. Okay, so whoever the original manufacturer was of, well, this particular model of the Dick Smith television went with the standard. So you'd think by default that would work. Well, no, it doesn't. This was a huge irritation for me. I came across something like this thinking, ooh, maybe I could take this, cut it up, and reuse it if this didn't work. Well, I eventually started getting seriously frustrated to a point where I ordered these. Now, this little gem, preferably I wouldn't recommend. Namely because of its size, and it's a bit difficult to insulate it on the inside. So unless, of course, you're really good at soldering, there's a good chance that some of the wires you solder on there may end up coming into contact. But if this diagram here matches this, why doesn't it work? Well, very interesting little trick I found. So this is the actual cable itself. Now, I've been able to plug this in to the television and it's worked. Funny enough, I picked this thing up from an op shop. So, I feel really lucky, but losing this or breaking it, since I'd like to connect up older equipment. So, that's interesting, isn't it? Turns out that this particular connector is just a little bit longer. It'd be nice to find out what kind of connector this is called. It's obviously not standard, as we can see with this gold one, gold plated. Now, this would explain the reason why you could actually insert this in, but it's not going to work. You at home might be thinking, well, how do I get a hold of one of these? Well, if you can't find one, then you generally don't. But this is a good tip if someone like myself has a Dick Smith television. They've got, they're supposed to have one of these sort of leads, but they don't have it. Well, you can grab yourself one of these little headphone jacks and just run around the op shops or wherever you are going, and you can actually just check it out with your headphone jack to see whether or not it is gonna fit, or if it's the type you're looking for. The other thing you can do, if you're a bit more competent with soldering, you could always just remove the 3.5mm plug on the actual board itself, and just simply with a, using your eyes and your brain a little bit, solder on the wires and connect yourself up a DIY cord or a plug on the back of the television to make it a little bit easier. But this was rather frustrating, and today being the only day I actually figured it out, it's great that I actually got this working, but to find out that it was a special connector just drives me nuts. I have found out that I think it's an AWA model that has Dick Smith have rebranded when they were in operation. So if you're like me and you're having this sort of problem, if you want to wait to find one of these sort of connectors, my only suggestion would be either use an upscaler from component to HDMI. I noticed there was a little bit of a blur in the image. I didn't really like it that much. Whether or not it's perceivable to most people, I don't know, but the other option is, if you can't get a hold of one of these, desolder the connector from the board, solder up your own wires to it, and then attach your own connector. And as long as you don't damage the board, it should work. Anyway, it's my little video. So hopefully you've learnt something, or if you're like me going nuts, well, hopefully this will help you find yourself one of these cables.